Yasas. What happens when you take two vibrant brothers that are descendants from the Greeks in Constantinople, embracing their American roots, and then ask them to serve up rich tales of traditions, cuisine, childhood memories, and a hearty dose of humor? You're about to find out. This is Baklava Banter, your passport to all things Greek.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Baklava Banter. Today we are blessed to have with us Constantina Konugres. Constantina is a television and film producer who's worked on works that have spanned across Oscar, Emmy, and Critics' Choice and Sundance-winning productions for HBO, Netflix, Apple TV, Disney Plus, Hulu, and much, much more. She holds a degree from USC School of the Annenberg School of Communications and School of Cinematic Arts, and actively serves as board member of the Hellenic Film Society and member of the Producers Guild of America. Constantina, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you, Peter and Terry. Super excited to be here.
So let's start talking about New York City.
Mm-hmm.
The Greek Film Expo is going to be starting up next week.
Yeah.
It's going to be running October 3rd to the 13th
Mm-hmm.
at three different locations.
Yes.
One being in Manhattan, the other one being in Fort Lee, New Jersey, and then the last weekend's going to end up in Astoria, Queens.
Yeah.
And for those of you who know, Astoria is the mecca of the Greek population for the New York City area.
Yes.
So let's talk about the film festival. What inspired the creation of the Film Expo? Like, what was the mind behind it, and how did it become to be?
So the New York Greek Film Expo has been around since 2018 and was started by our president emeritus, James Demetro. He is a wonderful man. You'll see him at the festival. He has these funky glasses. You can't miss him. And he's just a total cinephile. And when he was reaching retirement as an English professor, he realized like there was a need for a film society in New York. So the New York Greek Film Expo is hosted by the Hellenic Film Society. And we are a society that celebrates Greek cinema, bringing the best films from Greece to America. So for a lot of these films, we are the New York premiere for them. So it's their first time coming to the States or their first time coming to New York. And it's a great opportunity to bring incredible films to New York City. So the idea was to have a home for Greek films in New York. And not only do we have the expo that's coming up, but we also do screenings each month. So we're really a film society where there's multiple events throughout the year. And whenever you want to catch a Greek film, chances are once a month, you can see one in movie theaters.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
How I'm curious, Constantina. How is the Greek Film Festival sort of? Did you use when it was created? Was it based on some of the other film festivals like Sundance and so forth? And then sort of a two-part question, if you will. And then how are films actually selected? Because again, usually you hear all the time when you hear the Sundance and some of the others, or the Tribeca Film Festival and so forth, you hear about criteria about how films are selected.
Yes.
Is it similar to how you do it in the Greek Film Festival? What's the criteria? How do you prioritize them?
Yeah, that's a good question. So for us, we are really paying attention to our audience and also to the artistry of the films. So, a requirement for our festival is that the films are in Greek or at least take place in Greece. So they have to have like a Greek authenticity, Greek filmmaker in Greece, usually the Greek language. They're almost always in Greek and of course with English subtitles. But we're really trying to preserve, films from Greece with Greek filmmakers that are coming to America. So kind of like an import. So it's a little different than Sundance because with, most film festivals, there's like a variety of reasons, they're going to consider the film. Usually it's for the artistry or the message or, just how cinematic and deep the stories are. For us, a lot our films are cinematic and they do have really strong storylines. It's definitely the craft. But because we're bringing these films from Greece to America, we're trying to give our audience a good taste of what is popular in Greece right now. What are the filmmakers doing? What kind of new innovations are they doing? So we're kind of taking like a sample of what's trending in Greece, while still preserving the Greek heritage and what's, like current in Greece. Yeah.
Yeah, as we talk about preserving the Greek culture, we're in a situation now where there's more Greeks living abroad than there are actually living in Greece. I think the population of Greece now is a little over 10.5 million,
Hmm.
and then in the next 15 years, I think they expect it to drop to about 9.5 million of actual Greeks living um, in Greece. Now you see larger populations in New York, places like New York, Australia,
Yeah.
the United States in general, and even in other European countries. So when we use these films to kind of represent the culture,
Hmm.
the Greek culture, and kind of move it forward from generation to generation, um, what do you think through cinema? Is it just like you said, you're trying to talk about what's current in Greece, but
Hmm.
has there also been a push to through cinema to talk about the past as well? So
Yes.
those who aren't living there kind of can be educated through cinema?
Absolutely, yes. Definitely with some of the films in this year's expo, they touch on, just we're featuring a documentary about a prolific musician. So we're looking at artists of, different generations in Greece.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say that Greek films definitely have a stronger message than what's current. So, we're
Mm-hmm.
talking about the austerity problems in Greece, or we're looking
Mm-hmm.
at, there's like, I think what sets Greek cinema apart is that we do hold true to our history and to our values. And you can see that in stories that might be, taking place today,
Mm-hmm.
or touching on things, history is always going to be part of Greece and its films. So there's
Yeah.
definitely themes that tie into all elements of Greek culture.
Yeah. That
Yeah.
that that's great. I think it's really important as like I said to you, I think we're coming into a lull statistically speaking, and when you have people living outside of Greece, whether they're first or second or third generation, and they don't have that family member anymore in Greece
Yeah.
because they've all immigrated, there
Yeah.
needs to be that a methodology to share and move on the diversity of the culture that exists there from generation to generation.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, even it's incredible how watching a film, like no matter when it takes place, you kind of get a taste of like that's what life in Greece is like. And we just
Hmm.
might not know because we're here in the States. But anytime I watch a film that is shot in Greece, you feel like you're there, and you can feel like what the daily life for a Greek person is in Greece versus here. So it's an amazing way to feel like we're bringing, Greece to us in New York. So,
100%.
yeah.
Is the themes and the genres in Greek films? I think I kind of know the answer, but I'm going to ask anyway. Are they? Is the idea to attract viewers that are obviously both Greek and not Greek? They're really global, and and do they resonate? Do they resonate more if if you're Greek yourself, whether you immigrated or not? And the
Mhm,
example I'll give is when we do this podcast, right?
mhm.
There's a certain aspect of this podcast that's niche,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
If you grew up with crazy parents or grandparents and
Uh-huh.
you understand that, it's the same thing applies with Italians. It's the same thing being from New Jersey. If you're
Totally.
from that area, from that language, from that culture, you understand and it resonates. But I
Mhm.
think the beauty is being able to expand outside of that and not just give the cliches, right?
Right.
I think Nia, when she came out with My Big Fat Greek
I knew,
Wedding, kind
yeah,
of
we're
took
gonna
care
talk.
of that and everybody.
Yeah.
But if you watch the progression, my brother and I actually did one of the episodes on the last Big Fat Greek
I
Wedding,
loved it.
and
Yeah.
and one of the things we said is Nia really tried to make a connection that with each other. We're Greeks, we'll always be Greeks, we'll always be connected, whether you like it or not. But then with the whole thing with the refugees, that sort of plot
Mhm.
line in the movie,
Yeah,
it was that, but we are connected to something much larger. We always have been. But I thought it was interesting for her to pull the thread from the first movie to kind of introduce, hey, we're Greeks, to the last one to kind of, and we're all part of this whole, right? We're all part of the same planet. So from a genre perspective, is there a tension aside from Greek filmmakers, Greek actors, actresses, filmed in Greek, and so forth? Is the idea to make something that is attractive to somebody who is not Greek to not only learn, but also to start becoming, quite honestly, enamored? We hear that all the time. Oh, I wish I
sure.
was Greek. And it's like, well, be
Yeah,
careful what you wish for.
yeah.
So I'm curious from that perspective when you look at the movie making and the idea creation.
Hmm. Yeah, I think I mean honestly I really credit Nia Vardalos for My Big Fat Greek Wedding because like everyone can relate to that movie. You know,
Mhm.
any culture. And I think that we still see that with Greek films that are in, you know, coming from Greece. I will say I think they're a little more niche, and that like there are, you know, they're taking place in everyday Greece or Athens, but in general, like the meaning and the messaging behind these stories is universal, and I think they really go deep with, you know, what they're trying to convey, and I do think that it goes toward a universal audience. I mean, we're seeing more filmmakers from Greece that are garnering attraction at, you know, film festivals like Sundance, and you know, I think that anyone can relate, and I think that Greeks like the messages that they have apply to anyone while still kind of having those Greekisms.
Mhm.
So yeah, yeah, and I definitely with some of the films on our slate, they'd appeal to a mass um, audience. And something really cool that we just screened, Garagozis, which was the first animated feature out of Greece.
Mhm.
So I know we were kind of talking about Greece is now, you know, they have the same production value as films in America, if
Yeah.
not better. So I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
um, and we had a pack screening for that recently. There's families, and it was just so neat because I think, you know, I would have loved as a little kid to watch a Greek animated film. My Greek
Mhm.
would probably be a lot better if there were more of those. So you know, we are. I definitely think, you know, whether it's the genre or the type, you know, the type of film, like there's something for everyone that they can relate to that just grows a
Mhm.
better appreciation for our culture.
Yeah,
Yeah, very cool.
definitely. Um, it's funny that it's funny in the fact that the opening night or it's been a year. I'm sure Shelley Papadopoulos.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. So Shelley invited us last year when Lady of Roe was playing in Queens, New York,
Mhm.
and we had a wonderful time. The play was great, and then it was answers and questions, and you know, what's great about this is they're actually going to have uh, interactions Q&A after um, a lot of these movies. So my question is, last time Lady of Roe did a questions answer, it was a little bit. We sat in the back, and a lot of these Greeks think that they're better directors than the
The
director
directors
themselves.
themselves.
Instead of asking questions, their questioning was more the direction more than anything on you did like one guy made a comment, and we laughed because he basically told the director of the play that, oh, you made the wrong play.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
and
Yeah.
and we had a chuckle about it. We had a chuckle about it with Shelley.
Yeah.
But my thing with this is, and which I think is great, is when you have these interactions with whether it be the director or the producer or the actors themselves. What do you think if you're somebody in the audience? It should. Do you feel it should be less about critique and more? I'm not saying that people are gonna like what they're gonna like, but
Mhm.
um, how would you advise if you were gonna advise an audience? Do you think it's about keeping an open mind, or how do you think they should use that opportunity to engage uh,
Yeah.
somebody who is an intricate part of that production?
Right, right. So, well, all of our films have Q&As with actors, directors, producers of
Hmm.
the films. So there's definitely an opportunity to ask questions, and hopefully not give criticisms. But I mean, I think about Greeks, it's like we all like come from generations of like thought provoking Socratic methods. So
Hmm.
I think coming in with, any film festival you go to, you have to go in with an open mind. There's a
Sure,
reason these
sure.
films were picked. They're not for everyone. There are films for everyone, but you kind of don't know what you're going to get. And it's like usually the premiere of a film. So, they're being seen for the first time by a lot of people. So I love it because I think it's just a great way to kind of just see something new. It's, you're going to a festival, you're
Hmm.
not picking exactly what, movie you've been waiting to come out in theaters forever.
Sure.
But for a lot of people, it is like basically going to a film festival in Greece.
Hmm. Hmm.
Almost all of our films come from the Thessaloniki Film Festival, which is
Hmm.
Greece's premier film festival. And that's how we curate our films. So you're
Yeah.
getting the best films in Greece brought to you. So, I mean, knowing that, yeah, I think, it's all part of the conversation. I feel like, I probably come from a different mindset being on the other side of the camera. I know how
Hmm.
much, it's my cat. I know how much this kitty, not a good name, but anyway, yeah, I mean, I think for me being a filmmaker, I know how much work goes into making a film and how
Hmm.
difficult it is to get a film made.
Yeah.
That even if I see, all the films are really great, but if I was to see a, bad film, I would know, it's
Yeah.
probably not their intention. It's up to your interpretation.
Yeah.
It's all, subjective. So I just think making a film period is a huge feat and, might not be for everyone. But there's been some very interesting Q&As before and it's
Yeah.
fantastic to even have a Q&A because I always leave a
Yeah.
film with a billion questions.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? And the two of us, we feel the same way. However, like I said, our previous experience, it was less of a conversation, more of an argument.
Oh,
But
okay.
but
Well, it was
you know,
it was almost it was no different than what you'd see at a cafe Neo, sitting to get
Hilarious.
coffee, where you can have two people meet or a group of people, especially with older men, I think,
Yeah.
and have a political conversation where they go at it for hours,
Oh
and
my
then
God.
they all leave and they come back and do exactly the same thing. It
Yeah.
kind of felt like that. I mean,
Yeah.
that's where, which again is we're Greeks. That's kind of what we do.
mhm,
Um, but yeah, I think it's great that you open it up for for Q&A, in terms
Yeah.
of getting people pulled in, because yeah, Lady of Roe, the play itself was just, it was powerful,
Hmm.
yeah.
and I'm glad we went. Plus, it was a small theater, which makes it even better. A relatively small theater. Um, so let me ask you this. So it's the Greek Film Festival. What are the challenges to just organizing
Sure.
something like that, other than trying to keep guys like my brother and I from showing up on the red carpet looking for Jennifer Aniston, you know?
Yeah.
Um, well, there's yeah, no, there's always a great crowd. I think, there are a lot of challenges. And I think, for us, for the Hellenic Film Society, we're a nonprofit organization. So we are all volunteers. No one's paid. We're all doing this kind of it's a labor of love, and we're all cinephiles. Not all of us on the board work. Most of us don't even actually work in film. So we're doing
Mhm,
it because we want to preserve Greek culture through film, and showcase just how many amazing films come out of Greece and amazing filmmakers in Greece, and give them the opportunity to show their films with a greater audience. So,
mhm,
there's challenges in that, being a nonprofit, we, lean on our community and, our audiences to come to our screenings throughout the year, spread the word. It's a beautiful to see the community coming together, especially in New York, to help promote our Film Expo. We do it the old-fashioned way. We'll take posters to Magazia in Astoria,
Hmm.
and like different communities and dance groups and all the beautiful things that New York offers for Greeks. You kind of go to your community there. So I think
Hmm.
the challenge too is that honestly, with the pandemic, like it was hard, to get people back to the movies. So, and that's for film festivals worldwide. We were the first Greek film festival to go virtual. So we quickly had to, in 2020, basically make a festival online and offer films. And we did one for Greek independence as well. And it was really
Hmm.
successful. But I think the challenge is, giving our audience what they want, what they feel comfortable with, what they want to see. People are, going back to the theaters now, but I think the challenge is keeping that excitement to go to the movies alive, because the way we watch things is so different now. Yeah, I think that's probably one of the main challenges. And I'm just happy to see that people are back to going to the movies.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, 100%. And one of the things I find interesting is there is a fourth venue, but I don't believe there's a movie going to be shown there. And I believe on October 7th, there's going to be a Q&A with Thanos at
yes,
the Greek consulate,
yeah,
which I thought was how neat.
oh yes,
So, and so it kind of made me think then, when you think of using the consulate as a backdrop almost, the global reach of these movies.
yeah.
So as we talk on a local community sense of getting these movies out there, um how do you what is the plan of pushing this out on a more global level, like we talked about earlier about the Australias of the world and all the other smaller countries that are out there, that there is larger groups of Greeks living there?
Mhm,
um what kind of collaboration are there with those countries? And on an even on a more of a macro level,
mhm,
um has there ever been thought about collaborating with other filmmakers in other countries to
mhm.
make different types of movies?
Yeah. So, it's so when you say Australia, I got to go last year, and I
Hmm.
actually revolved my whole trip around going for Greek Independence Day
Sure.
with my mom. And we had an amazing time. I met so many amazing people.
Yeah.
It's so cool to see the Greeks all over the world. And when we went virtual, when the Hellenic Film Society had our first virtual film festival, we had so
Hmm.
many people from Australia tuning in, from other, like, I think someone from Montenegro. I mean, we could
Hmm.
see like people tuning in, Russia, all over.
Yeah.
It was so cool to see the audience globally that we connected with.
Hmm.
I mean, my favorite thing when I travel, I went to Switzerland, I try to find a Greek restaurant. You're
Hmm.
always trying to find your community
Hmm.
wherever you go. And so yeah, with our expo, and the conversation happening at the consulate, we're so excited to host that there, and have the Q&A with Thanos, who is one of Greece's most prolific character actors. He's hosting
Hmm.
our expo, and then he'll be doing this panel at the consulate on October 7th, Monday
Hmm.
night, at the consulate. And it's a great opportunity to visit the consulate. It's a beautiful building, and to hear Thanos speak. And you know our festival is so great for up and coming aspiring filmmakers, and also just
Hmm.
people that want to be in the Greek art scene and
Hmm.
experience the arts in all types of formats, especially film.
I hope
Yeah.
you don't get any young Marvel fans that are disappointed when they show up to hear Thanos speak and it's not the Thanos they thought.
Right? Oh my
So,
gosh, I know, I
Because you have that dynamic there.
totally.
So you mentioned aspiring filmmakers.
Hmm.
Uh, I'm assuming, actually, I don't have to assume. I know you have some uh, veteran filmmakers that have been making film for a while. They may not just have been recognized, certainly outside of Greece and so forth, that are part of this. How has it been for those aspiring filmmakers? Because I have to tell you, not even with filmmaking,
Yeah.
but Greeks in supporting the making of a movie.
Hmm.
It seems over the last couple of years, if you watch through the credits,
Yeah.
there's a couple of 12 and 14 character last names in there
Yeah.
in various roles. And it's
Yeah.
kind of cool to see, but you also think, am I just imagining this? I don't think I am. All
Right.
of a sudden, there's this little explosion, which is very cool. And I'm
Uh-huh.
wondering if you see that within the expo, that all of a sudden you end up with these maybe younger in some cases, aspiring folks that are doing some even indie films to start, right? We see this all the time with Sundance where something just explodes to
Hmm.
that audience. Do you
Hmm.
see the same dynamic in the expo in terms of growing those that are now making films because they're enamored by what's happening, that they now have an audience and a voice. They have a bullhorn to the world to say, "Hey, I'm a content creator as well,
Yeah.
a filmmaker as well. Hear me roar!" Right?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I mean, even for, the filmmakers that are coming from Greece, they are all so accomplished, but even still
Hmm.
for them to come to the States and have their New York premiere, that for them, they're accomplished filmmakers and they're fantastic filmmakers. And that's an
Hmm.
opportunity for them. And then for, people in New York, I mean, usually people, if they're not from New York, they're coming to New York to make it in some kind of way. So our expo is an amazing way to just meet more filmmakers. And naturally when I think we can all agree that when we meet a Greek we just click, something clicks. And so I think by, for any aspiring filmmaker, Greek or not, I mean, you get a lot of brownie points if you're not Greek and you're coming to one of these. So if you're a filmmaker and you want to meet other filmmakers, go to a Greek, film festival, and we will just, love you for appreciating our, art. So, and we get a lot of people, that we get audiences, not, it's definitely not just Greeks. We get, our venues too, where we're screening the films, are all really great theaters. So it attracts a wide audience. And, I just think it's a great opportunity to see good movies, international film, and talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, and
very
I
cool.
love watching the credits after films. I do that like every movie I see. It's a weird addiction. Like it's an addiction. You're like looking for the names. Looking, it's like, oh, they're Greek.
Yeah.
Oh, do you know them? And it's just, I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just going to loop back to something you said about when you travel abroad, you look for Greek restaurants. I
Yes.
am I am infamous for this,
Uh-huh.
and I can tell you there's a lovely Greek restaurant in Paris,
Oh, okay.
and and listen, my wife and I, we travel a lot.
Uh-huh.
We just got back from London a couple of weeks ago,
Oh,
and
nice.
again, it's one of those things. And we were in Paris a couple of years ago. And we're not big fans of French food, but
Sure.
I said, "Hey, I found this Greek restaurant. Let's go check it out." And it was down this dark alley, and we walk in there, and I started talking Greek with the owner, and they were just tickled pink that I would come all the way to Paris to eat at his little restaurant, and
Oh,
and it's one of those things. My brother and I laugh at that. Once they find out you're Greek, food just
Oh
shows
yeah.
up to the table.
oh,
You don't you're not even ordering, and it just comes, and you're like, oh yeah, like daddy's home. And
totally.
It's
It's
always fun to travel.
comforting.
It's always fun to travel with somebody, even in the United States. When
Yeah.
I've gone to, I remember I was in New York City and I went to Molivos, which is
Yes.
fantastic
Really good
restaurant,
restaurant.
right?
Yes.
And I went there with somebody I worked with, and we went back and forth. We got all the way to dessert, and the
Uh-huh.
waiter came over and said, "Are you Greek?" I said, I am." "Do you speak Greek?" "I do." And from that point, it was everything's at play. And the person I was with, because what ends up happening for me, I'm sure for both of us, I can't mispronounce in a restaurant the way the food is pronounced,
Yeah.
right? So I'll do the ordering.
Yeah.
And so we joked. They had 8 desserts on the menu. Baklava, there's other galatoburek, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
We'll
Yeah.
have everything on the dessert menu.
Yeah.
Ha ha ha. Or so we thought. We got everything on the dessert menu.
Oh my gosh.
But that dynamic is always interesting because we take it, right? It's when you grow up in the culture, that's kind of,
Mhm.
it still blows us away when
Yeah.
that happens. And like my brother said, it's, you try sometimes not to let on
Yeah.
because you just want to be kind of left alone. But
Yeah.
somebody said something and then you say something and somebody goes, "Are you Greek?"
Right.
Mhm.
Right. Right. Right.
Anyway, I
Yeah.
think it's so cool.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
That's
So,
great.
so here we are now. So this is the sixth year of the film festival.
Yeah.
Um, so as we look down 2, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years from now,
Hmm.
what's the path that the Hellenic Film Society would love to see this? You have, Chicago's on the list, Southern Florida's on the list. I think Atlanta's on the list. I think it's eventually going to make it, or was it in LA already? Or,
There's an LA Greek Film Festival. Yeah.
yeah. So when you look at this, what kind of growth are you looking for? Um, is this something that you want to take it, of course, at a much larger global scale?
Yeah, definitely. I think, as a film society, we are, constantly wanting to grow and have even more events and more panels and more ways to give back. Our YouTube channel has over
Mm-hmm.
2.3 million views, where we have some free movies and some
Mm-hmm.
free like panels you can check out, and just really informative, educational programming
Mm-hmm.
for filmmakers, cinephiles alike. Um, and yeah, as a society, I think we also want to pay a lot of attention to our younger audience, because those
Sure.
are the people that will carry on the culture. I know we were talking about that earlier. So
Yeah.
just continuing that curiosity for Greek
Mm-hmm.
film and the appreciation. And, I think people get, they're not always so excited to see an international film, because they think, oh my gosh, I can barely watch a British accent, The Crown. I can barely understand what they're saying. But
Mm-hmm.
our films have subtitles, and I think it's I think it's an amazing like learning opportunity to watch a foreign film, Greek or not. I mean, foreign film in
Mm-hmm.
general, it's just so thought provoking,
Yeah.
and a way to just get indoctrinated into a culture that I just hope, for Greeks especially, but other audiences, that they want to watch, a Greek film. And I'm thankful that Greek film has gotten more attention, whether it's like a director like Yorgos Lanthimos. I love his
Mm-hmm.
films, The Greek Weird Wave, or, the filmmakers coming from Greece, like the films that we're bringing with our expo. There really is something for everyone,
Mm-hmm.
and all 9 of our films are just fantastic films. So I
Yeah.
think our audience will be really pleased. Yeah,
Yeah. I 100% agree with you on that. It's kind of funny, like, even when we have conversations with Shelly,
yeah,
we kind of talked about over the last 5 years, probably this explosion within the Greek culture itself, how it seems like overnight everybody wants to be Greek. Now, I say that kind of tongue in cheek, but
hmm,
it's even the people that are Greek are kind of wanting to learn more about the culture itself, and are expand like they want to expand their knowledge base about their own background, their own generational, where did I come from, and who am I? And I think part of that leads to, you have, like companies like 23 and Me, and
hmm,
and
hmm,
and all those type of sites where, oh, I took a DNA test and I'm 10% Greek. I had no idea. And
right,
I think it's one of those things that people now are kind of diving down a little bit more as a society, uh and they're finding out that, oh my god, look what I'm in, and they want to learn more about it. And I think that's kind of, it's, if anything, it's helping push forward the agenda, of the film festival to some degree. And
yeah.
I think something like that is amazing opportunity that needs to be continued.
Definitely. I definitely agree. I think part of other people's fascination with Greeks is multi-pronged. I think one, it's a sense of community. Like we're a vibrant
Mhm.
community. We're happy people, generally speaking,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
pessimistic sometimes, but generally very happy people,
Yeah.
and with a zest for life. And I also think that a big part of it is our country is so beautiful. Everyone wants to visit Greece. So naturally, people know
Mhm.
about our culture, whether they've seen a Greek film like My Big Fat Greek Wedding, or they,
Mm.
see someone partying in Mykonos. Like,
Yeah.
they want to experience it. And I just think we're such an open, beautiful culture that it generates excitement. I refuse to do 23andMe because I don't want to know if I'm anything else.
Yeah, no, I agree. And
I'm also
I've,
I am part Lebanese, and I'm proud of that too. I'm mostly Greek, but I'm like, if I find out I'm anything but that, if I'm
yeah,
any less Greek than I already am, I'm gonna be upset
yeah.
about it. I don't want to know.
Well, maybe you're Italian. That'd be the
I
time.
wouldn't mind. No, of course, but
No, I'm joking with you. But, you know what? I'm gonna say this, and we'll get hate mail. But Italians have stole everything from Greece anyway. So
uh,
but no, I was gonna pass it off to my brother.
sure.
Yeah, does we talked a little bit about the culture, and you talked a little bit about the community, meaning the Greek community, supporting the effort and continuing to push this forward.
Hmm.
How how is the film festival, the actors, the directors, and so forth that comprise of it?
Hmm.
How are you seeing in terms of the broader film industry in this country? And I guess where I'm getting at is when Netflix started becoming a force to be reckoned with the films they were putting out available on Netflix for streaming, there was a little of back and forth between the older school developers, the older school filmmakers who believed you make films for cinema, not to stream. And there was this back and forth that started to tie into, are you as creative? Are you more as nuanced? Are you this? Are you that? And at the end of the day, it was all brilliant content. To me, the delivery mechanism was different, and you can argue that. Um, and so that was very specific within the industry itself. How is it? How is it now that you have this growing body of Greek filmmakers and movies? Are you? Is it generally being accepted? Does it even matter if it's accepted? But I would think that would continue. Who doesn't like what filmmaker, whether you're Greek or American, everybody in between, doesn't like to find the next great actor or actress or director, not just for a Greek film, but for movies in general? And now we have this pool that
Hmm.
has been building that I think is very cool. We're going to see more of those Greek names in the credits. What's the feedback been from within the film industry itself within the United States?
Yeah, I think, look, like the mediums are changing. If you get an opportunity to just, like I said, make a film, have the funds to make a film, where that goes,
Right.
anywhere is great, whether it's a hometown theater or a, Netflix streamer. So
Hmm.
I think the industry has been having a hard time in general, still kind of aftermath from pandemic and writer's strike, and the advent of so many streamers, TikTok, like movies, basically movies on TikTok, um,
Hmm.
that I think just the chance to, I think it's more about the artist having freedom to tell the story the way they want, because when you
Right.
are connected to a big studio or distributor, you might not be able to really tell, there's so many, there's red tape, there's budget constraints, etc. So I think just the opportunity to make a film is huge in itself. I remember there was some controversy over like Angelina Jolie playing Maria Callas, right? And it's like,
Hmm.
why isn't it a Greek actress? And then, it's like, well, you have this A-list star playing Maria Callas, maybe more people are going to see the film because it's Angelina Jolie. I don't know, maybe
Hmm.
not. I get both sides, right? And I think that's why I'm so proud to be part of the Hellenic Film Society and the Greek Film
Hmm.
Expo, because we are bringing, purely Greek talent, um, to the big screen and preserving that, and just Greek filmmakers, Greek actors, Greek writers, and we're co-presenting two films with New York Women in Film and TV. So which is an amazing organization,
Hmm.
um, with some of our more female-centric storylines. Fonisa is a dark film that kind of showcases the dark side of the dowry system and issues with
Hmm.
femicide. And I think I'm veering off from your question, but my point is that definitely
No,
veering
it's
off.
fine. It's good.
My point is that you know um, it's about filmmakers being able to share the stories they want. And I think, any opportunity to do that, hopefully with Greek filmmakers, is just such a big feat in itself. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think that answers what you were kind of talking about.
Yeah, no, I think that's great.
Yeah.
Again, I was curious because again, we've as a minority in this country, even though we have large pools in different parts, it's interesting to have seen what happened. I mean, you've seen we did we had an episode in this podcast with Basil, who
Mhm.
was probably one of the OG Greek comedians going back to the
Yeah,
80s.
yeah,
And we
yeah,
talked about that with him, right?
yeah,
It's now all of a sudden, not just for him, but for others, it's more front and center. You're certainly proud to be Greek. Um, Plus, you get to gloat some more, right? We gloated about inventing language and all the things that came out of my big fat Greek wedding to friends
Mm-hmm.
and so forth. But yeah, I think that's phenomenal. And hopefully, what we see is the dynamic of what I think certainly over the years, not that it just started, it's been around for a while, is the films coming out, the BBC movies and some others that the actors, I mean, my brother watches a lot more than I do, but he's turned me on to some. And now you're binge watching sometimes, depending what it is, and you're being introduced to, British actors or and actresses that you've never seen before, that now you're hooked on it.
yes,
Hopefully we see that same dynamic with Greek films, because I think that's really cool,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
to be able to get that kind of a dichotomy across movies and films in this country. So
Yeah.
yeah. I totally
Constantine, we're kind of butting up against our timer, but I just have a real quick question before we end it here. Um, and then just quick reminder, when we're done, don't disconnect. Just
Oh,
stay
sure.
there.
Yeah.
Um, my last question is, we hear about Hollywood constantly complaining about the impacts of AI within the movie industry, television. Is that same concern hold truth for movies being made in Greece? Do you hear that in the background?
I do hear it in the background, the concern of AI.
Mm-hmm.
I think that in general, Greek filmmakers are kind of purists, in
Mm-hmm.
that, they really appreciate the art and, the heart of the story.
Mm-hmm.
I think ultimately with AI, what it boils down to is more of a practicality matter of budget constraints. I'm not a fan of it, but I think that's just kind of it's a newer, while Greece is technologically becoming more advanced, it's not as
Mm-hmm.
big of a conversation right now.
Sure.
I do think that it's probably going to become bigger and louder, but in general, I'd say that Greek filmmakers are just kind of focused on their stories and their craft, and so it hasn't really um, taken a big step forward, AI. Um, and I think it's kind of important that something the society really cares about is like the education of like young filmmakers and filmmakers in Greece, and supporting them and making sure they have an outlet to bring their
Mm-hmm.
films to America. Um, and so many Greeks leave Greece too, and make want to make films in other places,
Yeah.
whether it's for tax incentives, or Greece has a great tax rebate actually for making films in Greece.
Mm-hmm.
But I think like with the film scene in Greece, it's not huge. So I think like the AI conversation isn't as big, uh,
Got it.
and not yet. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, listen, just to remind everybody, Greek Film Expo, October 3rd to the 13th.
hmm,
The three locations that you can see movies will be the Village East Cinema in Manhattan,
yep,
the Museum of Moving Images in Astoria,
yep,
and the Barrymore Film Center in Fort Lee, New Jersey. We're going to have a link below if you want to buy your tickets.
yes.
And I encourage anybody and everybody, you don't have to go to all three places. Pick a day, pick 2 days.
There's
Um,
so many great films,
yeah.
and our opening night is October 3rd.
Right.
We're playing little things that went wrong. And
Right.
we are going to also be presenting a Lifetime Achievement Award to actress
Right.
Vangelio Andreandaki, who
Yeah.
is incredible. And so it'll be a wonderful night. We'll have our screening. We'll have
Yeah.
our Q&A with Thanos Tokakis.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to have at least 10 Greek filmmakers from Greece, the directors, producers, actors of our films,
Yeah.
at opening night with a reception
Yeah.
with some food and drinks.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a great night, and 10 days of our festival. So
Yeah. It's off. I'm gonna be there opening night.
awesome.
My brother unfortunately can't make it. I'll tell you off air who I'm bringing. I think you'll get. I don't know if Maria told you or not, but I'll tell you
No.
off air.
Is it Jennifer Aniston?
But what's that?
Is it Jennifer Aniston?
Listen, we would be going other places if it was Jennifer Aniston. Okay.
Hilarious.
No, but Constantina, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And we'll catch up with you soon.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Thank you.
For Baklava Banter, I'm Petraki. This is Soto. And once again, this is Constantina Konugres. Thank you, everybody. Be good to each other. And we'll see you all soon.